In the week leading up to Xbox's 20th anniversary, there's been a lot of Xbox news, as you might expect. We've got some new news and gameplay on Halo Infinite's campaign, as well as some info on Compulsion's next game. So, let's get right into the video. Today, IGN posted on their YouTube channel an 11-minute campaign preview video for Halo Infinite discussing the multiple things from their time with the game, but if you want just the meat and potatoes of that video, then you've clicked on the right video. And the first thing I want to talk about is that they discussed that the campaign does a good job hitting its emotional notes. And this is really encouraging to hear, and as someone whose favorite Halo campaign to date is Halo 4, I've always had faith in 343's storytelling abilities, even after I personally think they completely screwed up Halo 5's story. But, of course, it's important for them to use Halo Infinite as a reset button to get back on the right track and back to telling emotionally impactful stories that I know they are capable of telling. But, of course, it wouldn't be a campaign preview if we didn't talk about some of the game's features and gameplay. So, they also talked about FOBs, or Forward Operating Bases. And what these are UNSC bases that have gotten taken over by Banished, and it's up to Master Chief to reclaim them. Reclaimed bases offer you the opportunity to call in vehicles and swap out weapons from the newly acquired base. Also, once reclaimed, these bases also function as a fast travel point on the map, as well as a spot where you can call in Marines for backup, maybe to hop in a Warthog or on the side of a Scorpion tank. And capturing these bases also earns the player Valor, which can be used to track how much hold the UNSC has on Zeta Halo. And the more Valor you have, the better the equipment, the vehicles, and the weapons you can call in for personal use. And the next part that I found pretty interesting is that according to IGN, earning Valor throughout your playthrough is entirely optional. So if you're someone who wants to make the game as hard as possible, you could certainly never earn Valor and just play through with the bare minimum. That being said, I'm not too sure why you'd want to do this, but the option is there if you so choose. And we also got some details on the open world, or I guess I should be calling them hub worlds. It is said that the open world operates more as large hub worlds to start the game, as the ring is broken up into island chunks. And the way this was described in the video sort of reminded me how the old GTA games used to be. You know, you'd start out on the first island, and as the story progressed, a bridge would open up to the second island, and the third island, and so on. But it seems as though you'll be able to move back and forth between them as you please, which is great to hear. Also, apparently there isn't too much of a focus on fetch quests, which I was ecstatic to hear when watching this video. The only person that really gives Chief any objectives is this new AI, the weapon. But according to IGN, the fetch quests are kept to a minimum, and the AI is there to operate much like you'd expect Cortana to operate, where she'll call out enemy attacks, notable objectives, destroyed Banished facilities, and Marines in need of rescue. Also, Halo Infinite features special targets that operate kinda like mini boss fights. You can hunt these enemies down and engage them in battle, and if victorious, you will receive that enemy's unique signature weapon. And seeing as Halo Infinite offers a big world to explore, there will of course be collectibles for you to search for and collect, if you desire to do so. And Chief actually has a scanner tool that makes collectibles much easier to find if that's your sort of thing. We also got a look at a new weapon called the Disruptor. It looks kind of like a shock weapon, and according to IGN, it's initially weak, but it deals more damage to enemies over time. So I'm definitely interested to see how this weapon plays out in Halo's sandbox, what it's used for primarily, and if it can actually be used as a primary weapon. And the final thing I want to talk about for Halo Infinite is the fact that there are Spartan cores that you will find during your time exploring Zeta Halo. And basically, according to IGN, these cores can be used to upgrade Chief's equipment. So if you think back to the campaign overview we saw a few weeks ago, you'll remember there was a part where the player opened the menu and there was an upgrade menu for Chief in which the player upgraded the thruster to equip an invisibility cloak that he then used to get around to the backside of a brute for a melee kill. And this is the sort of stuff you'll be upgrading with these Spartan cores. But that's about all the news I have for Halo Infinite for this video, but definitely stay tuned because I've got some more news regarding some information on a brand new game from Xbox Game Studios. And I feel like this is something that's really cool to end the video with because much like Halo Infinite, it's something that I'm excited about. And actually, this news comes our way from Windows Central's one and only Jez Corden. And this is regarding the next game from an Xbox studio that I am super intrigued by, Compulsion Games. I remember years ago at 2015's Gamescom show, a game that was newly announced and looked really dark and sorta trippy. Of course, I'm talking about Compulsion Games' We Happy Few. And years later after playing it, it's quite obvious to me that the game was simply just too ambitious for the budget that they had at the time. But today we finally got just a little bit of insight as to what we might be able to expect for Compulsion's next project, codenamed Midnight. It's a game that ditches the first-person view of We Happy Few in favor of some third-person action. The game is reported to be set in a dark fantasy world, and we've even got some shots of some early concept work for the game that looks really interesting. And you can certainly see the dark fantasy influence on the game's style. And what I found rather surprising or really interesting is that the game is said to draw upon inspirations from the deep south of America. The game is said to feature magic as well as large beasts reminiscent of what you might see in a fantasy game, but with strong southern gothic vibes. And if you're one of those people who's worried about Microsoft being a bad influence that forces a developer to focus on multiplayer or games as a service, then you can put those worries to rest as this game is reported to be an entirely single-player experience, and it's also described as having a strong story, so that's definitely nice to hear. And all this information certainly has me interested, especially considering Compulsion's uniqueness as a studio and their willingness to take creative risks. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on this new information we've got for Halo Infinite's campaign? And what are you thinking about this new info on Compulsion's next game? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Leave a like if you liked the video. And please remember to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content and ring the bell to stay up to date on all my latest videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.